Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. I am excited this week to get started with a brand new week and a brand new leadership word to focus on. So hang with me here. My name is Joe Lenhart and I work for Advanced 360 Education. We are a marketing company rooted in data and technology serving higher education. You see, I've worked in higher education for a couple of decades and love the impact that that industry makes. I also am an instructor, a leadership instructor for the University of Arizona Global Campus. And so I am a leadership fan. I am passionate about these conversations. And so week to week, we choose one word to just focus in on for 5 minutes or less if we can, and go out there and sharpen our leadership axes, okay? And so we've been talking about some tremendous words that I know I love to talk about, like relationship, wow, influence, empowerment, trust, core values, and the list goes on and on. But what fuels those things? Have you ever thought about that? I wonder also, have you ever thought about the job you're doing of taking inventory of your leadership performance? Have you ever stopped and really tried to be, self-critical through self-analysis about what your people think of your leadership? That can be a tough self-conversation, can't it? I've had it for sure. And I think the word that comes to mind that fuels all of those things for me today is the word presence. Presence. You see, it's a word that from the very beginning of my career to today has been a challenge for me. And I think it's natural for all of us. You see, I think there's two ends of the spectrum for leaders. Number one, you might be in a startup situation, really small team with lots of responsibilities. Or you may be at the other end of the leadership spectrum where you have hundreds of employees, you have climbed the ladder and you've done well, but you still have a ton of responsibilities. The key is you have more people to help you with those responsibilities, right? So sometimes what I found was that the smaller opportunity was the most challenging for me. But let's focus on this one for now. Fast forward the story. I am running a large admissions enrollment team for an online university a number of years ago. Had a great time building something basically from the ground up with a great group of people who are dear friends of mine to this day. But what can happen when you're in the corporate environment, and leaders, you know this to be true, is that you can get caught up in those ivory tower meetings, I like to call them. Those conference rooms with 20 people in them, you know the ones. Your calendar is largely booked all day long. You've got people in and out of your office throughout the day. In our case, we had multiple floors of cubes of enrollment advisors. What I started to realize was it was sure great playing Mr. Vice President and making decisions and speaking to the powers that be. It was a challenge. But you know what I found was so often I couldn't get downstairs and to spend ample amount of time with people. And isn't that what's most important to us as leaders? And so 6 or 7, maybe 8 years ago, I started to really focus in on what kinds of things could I do intentionally to spend more time on the floor with employees and to increase my presence. So I might intentionally schedule employees for an observation, right? Well, we had managers and directors for that. No, I needed to learn the business better, and I needed to spend time with some of our really great performers, right? I needed to spend time with some of our challenged performers so I could add a little bit of coaching to their performance. Maybe I needed to do some active listening on the phone and then walk downstairs and actually give them some face-to-face feedback. I developed a concept with some of my colleagues that was basically a snack cart. And we loaded that thing up, and I would walk around at least once a week giving away candy and chips and drinks. And it gave me some eyeball to eyeball time at the Cubes. And you started to get into a rhythm of asking about their families and knowing how their performance was and congratulating people. On Fridays, I would intentionally show up at a team and we would give a special award to someone who was rippling extra hard across the organization. I tried to just take a spin through the floors at certain times during the day. Folks, I wasn't perfect about it at all. And this goes back 30 years ago. I used to run quick service restaurants as a very young leader. And I would find myself in the office doing scheduling, making orders, calling vendors, calling in staff or calling off staff, taking a break. Whatever it was, I would find myself in the office too much and not with the people. That's where relationships are built, right? When they see you, they know you care, right? They know they can rely on you, that you're at war with them as well. You're fighting the good fight with them, and they can depend on your presence. It's food for thought this week. Give it some thought, and you might make some tweaks to your schedule and to some of your leadership strategy week to week, so that what we want to do is impact our culture, our outcomes, our relationships. But overall, we want to increase our presence and decrease that time in the ivory tower. Those are my thoughts for this week. Keep rippling, and I'll talk to you next week with another leadership word.